I've been talking to a lot of locals who are not being employed right now, who have asked for jobs to be employed by BP. People have lost their jobs from the oil spill. And my question to you is, when are you guys going to start employing locals here in the area?
Ginger Cassidy with Rainforest Action Network.
So, Brianna, it is our objective and policy to hire as many local people as we can. We've put that across all the states, whether it's Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, or Louisiana. We've gone back in, we've looked at the Vessels of Opportunity programs, which is where we hire local boats. We've gone through to make sure that subcontractors weren't bringing in boats from out of the state or sometimes out of counties. We've even gone down to the local level to say, what is local for a town such as Venice? It doesn't mean someone coming from another part of Louisiana, it means really local. We put a lot of emphasis on there. There is a limit to the number of people that we can employ, of course, because they need to be trained, they need to be out there doing some specialized work. I've heard these issues. I've been down to Houma, I've been down to Venice, I've been down to Grand Isle. I hear this. We keep putting strong emphasis and pressure on our subcontractors to make sure they are local people that are hired. We can do better, but I take your point. I'll go back and continue to push on it.
Well, how does the system work? If you are a ready pair of hands and you want to get involved, and perhaps your own work has been compromised by this disaster, who do you tell? Who do you ask? How do you get into the system?
So there's, people call them ads, but there's a set of newspaper ads that we've been running, and we've been doing it in local papers as well with phone numbers. So there's a hotline to report oil, there's a hotline to make claims, and there's a hotline for information for exactly that. And so we direct people to either the subcontractors or ourselves. We've made it clear that we don't want people migrating from other parts of the country to come down and work on the spill, which was in the early days was an issue.
We've already discussed compensating people, compensating their livelihoods, making up for economic losses. Ashley J. writes from New York about the region itself, the ecosystem. While BP has set up a compensatory fund of $20 billion for the people, the Gulf region itself remains unaddressed. Will BP step up and allocate resources toward the setting up of marine reserves and rehabilitation facilities going forward?
So in late May, we announced a $500 million fund that we will set up that is to do the science. And one of the things that fund will do is look at recommendations for setting up rehabilitation activities. I think it also will be a fund that will work to increase the capability of the research institutes around the Gulf Coast, the universities themselves. We want to make the Gulf and the economy stronger over time as a result of the spill. I know it doesn't feel that way today. That's probably the last thing people are thinking of, making it even better. But that's what these funds are going to be set up to do. We're going to be administering them independently. We'll have boards and experts look at it. We will undoubtedly go through a process of where do you prioritize which states. All the states affected have to benefit from this. We're going to work with the wildlife institutes. I think the world will change along the Gulf, obviously detrimentally for a while as a result of the spill, but longer term we want to make it a stronger ecosystem for not only the science, the response, the protection mechanism longer term.
There are still differences of opinion, differences in what's being reported about the extent of the damage. Will it take some time to even know how bad things are? When crude sits on the bottom, which there are widespread reports of that being the case now, it basically suffocates the ocean floor and kills everything that depends on a healthy ocean floor to live in other parts of the chain.
So I've just read the NOAA reports and the joint committees of the government, the NOAA, Department of Energy, and one other, to look at some of these reports of the plume and the measurements right now. What they're seeing is a reduction in oxygen levels that are still above acceptable levels in parts of where the oil moves up, and that's the symptom of the bacteria eating the oil, and the bacteria actually eats the dispersant as well. It does reduce the oxygen levels. That will be temporary. In terms of this creating those dead zones, I'm not aware of data that shows that, but that is what the baselining data that's and the data collection now is going to show. We're not going to try to hide anything. Everything we're doing, we want to post it. In fact, I think we were posting all this data on the websites. I know that people don't trust oil companies. It's been that way for as long as I've worked in the industry. It's a particularly American phenomenon in many ways. We've tried to be as open as we can. People have talked about us holding back on the rate data. We simply don't know some of this data. We're working with the government to do it. There's no attempt to hold back anything on this. And if the studies show that that kind of damage has been done to the Gulf, I assure you we will meet our commitments to do what we need to restore it over time.